So, when everything's a crisis, how do we stay calm and stay focused? Well, hi there. I'm Suzanne again, and this is lesson 2. So, if lesson 1 was about protecting your energy, this one's about protecting your focus. Because, let's be honest, not only is caregiving making you feel like everything's a permanent emergency, the phone rings, your senior calls out, the doctor's office holds for 25 minutes, and your brain says, drop everything. But also, even the simplest things. You try to read an article and you've got ads popping up all the time. You sit down to watch TV and you've got 2.5 minutes of ads. You try to look up something on the internet and an ad pops up or something that you weren't. Or the worst is when you do get on the internet or social media, the next thing you know, an hour has gone by and you wonder what happened. And you went down all these rabbit holes that you never dreamed you'd go down. And you wonder to yourself, how did I even get there? So let's go back to caregiving for a minute. Let's go back to even the simplest things that make us go down rabbit holes, like a missing sweater or a misplaced bill. We know we walked into the room for something and now we can't remember what it was. This is going to trigger internal panic buttons all the time. You think you can catch up, or you think something bad's going to happen next. If this sounds familiar, that's not disorganization. This is survival mode. We're just being distracted. So why does everything feel like a crisis? Here's part 1. When you care for someone, you become vulnerable. Your brain learns to scan for danger 24/7. It's a safety thing. That's what I call the alert loop. It's helpful in a real emergency, but exhausting when every hiccup rings the same alarm bell. Doesn't work. And I will tell you that even in emergencies, which I did in the ER when I worked, in the emergency room, every real emergency, we still handled the same way. There were protocols in place, and we worked our way through the protocol list. So it never seemed like an emergency. To the family, it did. Maybe to the patient, it did. But as I stayed calm, they calmed down. When I stayed focused, they stayed focused. The same thing with my nurses. If they stayed calm and focused, which they did, everybody else did too. So that's where we want to get you today, to stay calm and focused. But here's the problem that we often run into. The alert loop can't tell the difference between what's urgent and what's important. So we treat every request like it's going to be a life or death situation. I once coached this caregiver who leaped every time her mom said, "Can you get me a glass of water?" And it didn't matter if she was on the phone with insurance or halfway through cooking. By 6 p.m., she'd run 18 sprints and solved nothing big. She was constantly running. I had another caregiver who was answering the phone when her mom was calling 14 times a day. This was exhausting. If it was an emergency, the facility would call her and the facility would take care of it. So all she had to do was text the facility and say, "Mom called again. Can you check on her?" That was it. She could call her mom and set boundaries. And we'll talk about boundaries later because they really do pull on our emotional threads and they can unravel us like nothing else. So we'll talk about that in another module. But right now, let's stay with staying focused on what we need to stay focused on. See, I just squirreled. All right. So let's go back to this caregiver, when she finally sat down, she said something I'll never forget. And here's what she said. "It's like I'm magnifying 5 small fires into huge fires, waiting for the whole house to burn down." And that's what happens when we mistake noise for danger. So we need to remain calm. When our mom or dad yell out for our name, we have a way to fix that. One of the best ways I have seen it works is when you step away from your senior, you let them know where you're going and what you're doing and when you'll be back if they get nervous for you. Say, you're going to be okay. I've got you all settled, and I'm going to take this time for me. So I'll be back shortly. Is there anything you need before I leave you? And then they know. They don't have to yell your name in the middle of you doing something important. Okay, part 2, the safety, comfort, preference. Safety, comfort, and preference rule. And what this means is we have to break a pattern. So the next time something feels urgent, I want you to pause just for a breath and ask yourself, is this a safety issue? Is it a comfort issue? Or is it a preference issue? Safety, comfort, or preference. If it's safety, that could be a true emergency. If they're on top of a ladder and get dizzy, you got to act now. But if it's comfort, if it matters, you might be able to schedule it in. They need a blanket. Mom, I'll be there in 5 minutes. If it's a preference, it can be waited. It can wait or be shared. Somebody else can do it. So most of what stresses us out lives in those last 2 categories. We're not surprised, are we? We're wired for empathy, and so we rush to fix comfort and preference as if they're emergencies, and we don't have to. Okay, part 3, calm isn't laziness, it's leadership. I've seen this over and over again, as I said in the emergency room. So let's reframe something. Responding calmly doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you're leading the moment instead of letting the moment lead you. You're leading the moment. Think of airline pilots. When turbulence hits, they don't slam every switch. They run a checklist. Caregivers need that same mindset. We think about safety, think about comfort, think about preference. So your checklist becomes, is anyone in danger? Is this discomfort or a disaster? And what happens if we wait 10 minutes? It's not going to be a big deal, most cases. You'll be amazed how often the answer is nothing happens at all. Nothing happens at all. So let's look at part 4 of this lesson. 1 minute that changes the day. What do I mean by that? Well, let's practice together, okay? Right now, close your eyes and think about one situation this week that sent your stress through the roof. Maybe a sibling's last minute text, something that dug at you and they weren't very nice. Or maybe your parent is refusing their meds again. Or maybe a pile of unread paperwork. You really don't want to dive into those bills because they take so much energy to do. Now replay it in slow motion. What would have changed if you had paused just 60 seconds before reacting? And all those things are on your plate. And that 1 minute is your new superpower. You're going to pause and look at safety. And it's going to give your nervous system time to shift from panic to plan, from panic to plan. So try saying this out loud. I'm not ignoring the problem. I'm choosing how to handle it. And this is a good thing to do with your loved one too. Sometimes they ask us something and we immediately, or a sibling does, and we immediately reacted, oh, we got to answer it. I want you to put this sentence into your dialogue. I'm not ignoring what you're saying. I'm choosing how to handle it, or I'm choosing my response. And that buys you a minute to think about it. Or you could just say, let me think about it. That slows everybody down. And that sentence alone tells your body that you're safe, and safe brains are always going to make smarter decisions. Always make smarter decisions. So part 5, let's talk about a real caregiver example here. And so many of us have been here. So one quick story. The caregiver named David used to feel like every call from his mother meant catastrophe. Well, she called 14 times a day, right? And he'd rush out of meetings and he'd skip meals and abandon errands, ignore his wife. When we walked through this safety, comfort, and preference rule, he realized 80% of those calls were just comfort. She was lonely, not unsafe. She was lonely, not unsafe. So he made a plan: one scheduled mid morning call and one evening call to check in. He'd answer true emergencies right away, and they were through the facility. And within 2 weeks, his stress score dropped in half. His mom still felt cared for. In fact, she looked forward to his calls now instead of him calling her. And it really was the magic of calm clarity. It doesn't neglect anyone. It rescues everyone. It rescues everyone. So, part 6, let's talk about your crisis card here. In your workbook, you're going to see a small space called the crisis sorter. And I want you to write 3 questions there for your next high stress moment. Can this wait 1 hour? Can someone else help? Will reacting now make it better or just louder? Can this wait 1 hour? Can someone else help? Will reacting now make it better or just louder? And take that card to your refrigerator or put it in your phone. And when adrenaline surges, you won't have to think. You'll just follow your checklist. It's an amazing way to stay focused on what truly matters. So when this panic hits, drop your shoulders, exhale slowly, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Physically lower your shoulders. It's going to tell your brain, I'm not under attack. I don't have to worry about this. That single breath is going to stop a false alarm before it hijacks your day. It matters because you're in this for the long haul, and we can't have you burning out. So we want you to stop caregiving from being unpredictable, letting everything surprise you and run your life. Calm isn't a luxury. It's a strategy that we all use in caregiving, and you can use it too. It's going to protect your body, your time, and your relationships. So when you start using this rule, you are going to notice something beautiful. That noise is going to fade. You're going to be amazed that real emergencies are going to feel clearer. And for the first time in a long time, the end of your day is going to feel steady instead of spent. You're going to be amazed at it. So we'll see you in lesson 3, but practice these. It takes time, but you can practice. Bye-bye.